Hello and welcome to 5-inch Floppy on GameArena.com.au. I'm Junglist. 2012 is shaping up to be the year that MMOs finally got a clue. Earlier on in the year we had Terra's positional-based combat. Later on we'll have Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 recently had a beta weekend, and as a result, this is a beta preview, so we're going to spend a lot of time talking about what's new in Guild Wars 2, and there's a lot of it. We'll start with the biggest difference. Normally, MMOs will charge you for what you want. They'll charge you directly through monthly fees or microtransactions, but they'll also charge you indirectly using time. Want to send mail? Hike it to the nearest mailbox. Want to trade? Find an auction house. PvP? Find a War Master. Fast travel? That's gonna cost you. These are indirect charges because they either add up to equal more monthly fees, or you can pay money to bypass them. Which brings us to the main difference in Guild Wars 2. They won't charge you monthly, and they won't charge you microtransactions. You pay for the game, that's it. And because they're not charging you directly, they're also not charging you indirectly. They don't care how much time you spend in the game. And this goes far beyond being a simple business model, it affects the entire structure of the game. Starting with those little conveniences you'd normally have to pay for. If you want to teleport over there, boom, you can do it. All the way across the map, done. Want to mail something? Don't run back to the main city for a mailbox, just open up the mail window. Want to use the auction house? Don't run back, open up the trading post window. Want a PvP? Open up the PvP window. There's no actual reason for you to have to run back other than to spend more time in the game. And all these little things usually add up to, of course, more monthly payments. Not here. In fact, rather than have you accept quests and run back to the quest giver, you're free to roam the landscape and stumble upon quests, which have a geographical zone. It's an idea brought over from Warhammer Online's public quests. Merely doing what's needed within that zone contributes to the quest effort. Rather than competing with strangers for spawns, you're working together with them. Some of these are your typical picking up eggs, and some are a little more exciting. At the end of the event, it'll add up how much damage you did to enemies, or tally up how many bags of food you carried from point A to point B, and give you a contribution medal, which decides how much experience you get. It's a better take on the questing system, and we hope more MMOs do it. Instead of picking up 10 quests and circling around town, you can just start the game, and you might just wander over here, and then wander over there, where this is happening. Sometimes you'll just be walking along and see a new event nearby notice, and you'll see what that's about, along with everyone else. It's kind of funny seeing an entire army descend on a farm for some small issue. Hey, I need some stuff carried from here to there. Hey, army, my dishes need washing. Hey, army, I got a little itch on my back. But if you get tired of an area or found some same level stuff too easy like we did, you can go somewhere else. That's okay. We were actually quite underwhelmed by the human starting area's endless agricultural problems, but found our way to the snowy wastelands of the Norn, and we had a lot more fun there.
In the far north, my people fought our greatest enemy, Jorman, the dragon of frost and snow.
This free, open approach also applies to how your character progresses. Rather than eke out 100 abilities over 50 levels, you only have around 10 abilities available at any time. These abilities differ, however, according to what weapon you're holding. The first 3 abilities are always decided by your main hand weapon, with the next 2 decided by your offhand. By about level 10, you can have every skill on every weapon unlocked. And by about level 15, you've experimented enough with each one to understand each system and have a favorite. And then that's it. At that early stage, you get the game. There's no experience-altering unlocks later on, no one wrongly telling you that the real game starts later. That's what the game will be like for that class. You can either change class if you don't like it, or try PvP, but there's no false hope that all of a sudden the game will later on become fun. Having said that, the fact that each weapon gives you different abilities means that within each class are actually several subclasses, and they all play out differently. All of it's available from the start, but it can take some time to fully understand the tricks you can do. It's not like each weapon will be variations on the same thing. For example, we went with one of Guild Wars' more unique classes, the Mesmer. This class is all about deception, diversion, illusions. It's like the magician at your kid's birthday party, but instead of making things disappear, they make things explode. But a mesmer with a sword is one thing. Here it's all about evasion. They can leap into combat, or get an illusion to leap into combat, making enemies blow their cooldowns. They do lots of damage, but they're still a vulnerable caster, so abilities focus around evading while maximizing damage output. A mesmer with a staff is another thing. These abilities are all about applying lots of debuffs, and then doing more damage for each unique effect on an enemy. A mesmer with a greatsword is different still. Now it's all about distance. The more distance to a target, the more damage you do. These are all very different playstyles within the one class, and to switch from one to the other, you just change your weapon. More advanced players will switch weapons mid-fight to abuse the cooldowns. Just to quickly give you an idea of what I'm talking about, the mesmer can set up illusions of his or herself. These illusions can also detonate, providing 1 second of invulnerability. Using a bit of weapon switching, you can set up illusions a couple of feet apart, allowing them to run towards the target and detonate at 1 second intervals. That, combined with an ability that gives you 2 seconds of invulnerability, is a total of 5 seconds, combined with a couple of dodge maneuvers, gives you around 7 seconds of invulnerability for when you pull aggro or when PvP enemies are focus firing you. And that's just one cool move from one playstyle from one class. It's also important to note that each class is self-reliant. Guild Wars 2 wants to do away with the holy trinity of tank, healer, damage dealer. Instead, each class has a self-heal, as well as a host of oh crap I pulled aggro abilities. And you might need to go into oh crap mode at any stage of the game. We noticed that aggro works differently in this world. Often monsters will reset their aggro, or charge in random directions. Even if you're roaming around a lower level area, this game will actually down level you to make sure you're still getting a challenge. In PvP, however, you're brought up to max level instantly. Since there's no proper world PvP, you can just kind of join the main battle at any time, where your server battles another server for resources. Control enough resources and you'll get a faction buff. On one hand, a faction buff is kind of a lousy incentive. You might catch yourself thinking, why am I doing this again? But on the other hand, their goal is not to make you spend more time in this world, it's to make you have fun. So if PvP accomplishes its goals, the PvP should be the reward. We couldn't really get a good idea of what PvP was like during the beta because numbers were a little imbalanced. As you can see here, we owned all the fortresses colored green, which is everything. But the same sort of combat is brought over from questing in an environment where you can make a big difference as a small group defending a fortress or form massive armies to attack one. PvP in Guild Wars doesn't center around one moment of quick decisions. Your biggest attacks will take off less health than usual, meaning winning an encounter is more about sustaining a winning strategy and less about ganking. And that brings us to endgame. It's almost as if the concept of a level is irrelevant in Guild Wars 2. In PvP, there might as well be no levels at all, and in PvE, you know what you're getting from the start. After that point, it's less about watching a virtual number go up and more about delving deeper into a system. Its learning curve is a bit more like a normal game, which is a good thing. And of course, its primary motivation is fun, not time spent. There's a lot new in Guild Wars 2, but the best comparison we can think of is Warhammer Online. It takes a lot of its cues from that game, both in the PvP and PvE. So if you like the feel of that combat and that universe, you'll probably like this.